special guest today. So I even have a little spiel here. Oh, and before I start, I want to thank Past Christian Books, because a lot of you, like I said, we only have one copy of Johnny's book in the library system, and it's our copy because it came out just before COVID started. And so we haven't been able to get more copies in. So we went to Past Christian Books, and they had offered to help, and we said, could you help us out by donating books for our teen book club? So they did that. That was the Ballad of Something in Snakes. But anyway, yeah, they did that for the teen book club, and then they graciously donated copies of Johnny's book for our adult book club. So that was really awesome. And if you need coffee or books, please consider shopping at Past Christian Books, because they do a whole lot for the library. And then tonight, I'm just, like I said, I'm recording it. I think it should be, yeah, it is. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just introduce Johnny. She's gonna talk a little bit about her books, and especially the Sisters of the Undertow. And then we're gonna have a discussion. And after I do the intro, I will maybe comment on a few things, but I'm gonna let y'all kind of go crazy with it. So Johnny is a former English teacher and journalist, and it says she's passionate about reading and writing. And she's a traditionally published author, which means she gets published by publishing companies. Nothing wrong with self-published, but that's really special. And her work has appeared in newspapers and magazines, both nationally and internationally. Her first book, and I'm holding this up, I guess you can't really see it. We do have a copy here at the library. It's called A Good Girl. And it was shortlisted for the 2015 Faulkner Wisdom Writing Competition, which is one of America's most prestigious literary prizes. And there were several other awards that went along with that one. I'm going to kind of abbreviate that just a little bit. Her second novel, and she came and spoke to us about this for our book club, is called How We Came to Be. We also have a copy of this at the library. And this one was chosen for panel discussion, and I got to see Johnny at the 2018 Mississippi Book Festival, and she was also at the 2018 Louisiana Book Festival. And it was represented at the 2018 Texas Book Festival. It was named a must-read by Southern Writers Magazine in its March 2018 issue, and it was also recognized by Deep South Magazine in its 2018 Summer Reading List, and by the International Pulpwood Queen Book Club, I want to know more about that, as a 2019 reading selection, and it was shortlisted by the Mississippi Institute of Arts and Letters for the 2019 Fiction of the Year. It was also the recipient of the Summerly Book Prize, HM, by the Center for History and Culture at Lamar University. Tonight, we're here to discuss this book, which I think everybody got a chance to read. And this is Sisters of the Undertow, her third novel. And this was selected for a panel discussion for the 2020 AWP National Conference, as well as an official selection for the International Pulpwood Queens Book Club. And it was chosen by the Association of University Presses as one of the 100 best books published by university presses. Johnny's work can also be found in the following anthologies: Writers on Writing, The Pulpwood Queens Celebrate 20 Years, and Katrina Memories. And Johnny does a lot with helping authors and kind of working with authors, and she does, I got to see her last year. They had the inaugural Homegrown Literary Festival over in Hancock County. She did a great job speaking there. She's just a great person, a lot of fun to hang out with. And so I want to welcome Johnnie Bernhard. So take it away, Johnny.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for reading the book, and a huge thank you to Wendy, who has always championed my work in past books with Scott. It is fantastic to connect with readers, especially during COVID. It's been very unusual and trying to make that connection. My book officially was released at the end of February. I had probably over 30 events scheduled in 5 different states. So to have you work to make this happen is very much appreciated. And I would never call this a COVID book. A lot of authors are doing that the book has come out now, and I'm not going to go there because I'm happy if 2 people want to talk about the book. So it's really not about the sales, though that's very important to the publisher. It's more about connecting with the reader. I'm thrilled that you read the book, and I can't wait to hear your questions. Shall I tell you what inspired me to write this book?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Well, a couple of years ago, I was watching CBS Morning News. I get up very early, and it was a feature story. The young woman speaking was married to an NFL football player, and she was talking about her multiple miscarriages. And I was so struck by this, thinking she's a perfect, healthy human specimen. She's married to the same type of man. How must it be to deal with this over and over again as a woman? And how do we define womanhood and what a woman's role is in society? So I kept playing with that idea. And then from that, I began thinking about when we think of women and the different roles they play, what is perfection? What is the Olympian idea for a woman? And from that, I kind of put that aside and developed a character. And of course, that's the mother in the book. And of course, two very, very different sisters. One who is gifted, beautiful, and the other one who was born at 29 weeks during the 70s, where the medical advances wouldn't be as advanced as they are today to give that baby everything he or she needs to survive and be happy. But we have a mother that has this passion, we could call this passion, that later leads to an obsession. And I interviewed a lot of women locally who had suffered many miscarriages, or women who had within their household a child that was unhealthy, and what the effects are on the family. It could be a child that is diagnosed with leukemia. It could be a father who is diagnosed with severe diabetes. You're in your tribe, and everyone is feeding off of that, and how their roles begin to change. The second thing that really inspired this book is when my first novel came out, A Good Girl, and I cannot say enough about the Mississippi librarians who have championed me over and over again. It's not just a given that you're going to have an audience or someone's going to buy your book. You have to work for that. You have to engage. You have to connect. And these librarians have been terrific. So with The Good Girl, I had a meeting scheduled at the Biloxi Library at the branch that is near downtown that has a very large homeless population. And I was very new at all this. I didn't know what to expect except to show up. I made cookies and some punch, and there were my books, and I was going to talk about this novel. And I looked around and I realized that the population of that library, the patrons, were the homeless. And I watched, and I can only do this because I did not have a conversation with her. I watched a woman come in with two girls, elementary age. The woman was very provocatively dressed. I noticed the librarian make contact with the girls and the woman in a way that made me think, this is a routine. And I realized that I wasn't there at the Biloxi Library that day to talk about A Good Girl. I was at the Biloxi Library that day to learn. And I cannot tell you that the miscarriages and seeing the woman on CBS Morning News and seeing an alleged prostitute with her two daughters being dropped off at the library with the homeless population, that all this played together and it gelled, and I began writing Sisters of the Undertow. What happened with me in the process of writing, I developed characters first. So I absolutely fell in love with this librarian because she was so gracious and kind, and I realized her job had changed tremendously over the last few years. Tremendous social change in our inner city libraries. And I visited some other inner city libraries like Houston to get more details. So I was very struck by the new role of the librarian, that perhaps libraries have become a daycare for those that have no place else to go during operating hours. I was very struck by that. And so I began pulling this all together. And of course, the sisters is a universal theme, sibling rivalry. What can we say about our sisters? And I'm one of four. And sisters are the ones that are going to tell you when you're in high school talking to a guy you've been trying to connect with for months, he's going to walk by and say, "You got my shirt on," or "You need to do something about your eyebrows." That is the relationship of sisters, and that best friend you have. Now, sisters, that's a love and hate thing. Those are the people that hopefully you could call at 1 o'clock in the morning and they're going to take your call. And those are the ones that are going to tell you the truth. The reason why I went with sibling rivalry is because it's universal. So if someone read the book in Ireland, in Spain, in France, they're going to understand sibling rivalry. It's something we all deal with. So I pulled this all together and I began developing my characters. And there's, of course, a lot of symbolism with water and hurricanes because they're the great equalizer. You ladies might have noticed in the book, we have a lot of people that are not necessarily accepted. The homeless, the teen from Central America trying to find her way home, the animals at the animal shelter that do not have a home. And does our protagonist, our librarian, did she ever create a home for herself in her need to withdraw into her books? So that's an underlining theme there. All these people look for a place to connect, finding their way in life, finding their acceptance, finding their home. And of course, there's the very poignant piece of the immigrants. All of my novels have immigrants in it. I happen to think that's something absolutely beautiful that America does. A Good Girl is the Irish immigrant story coming to America. My second novel is a World War II survivor coming to America. And of course, this third novel, we could talk about the people fleeing the injustice and violence of the Middle East and looking for a home. So there's the novel in a nutshell. Now, I would love to hear your questions. And please don't be shy.
Let's go first.
Okay, did anybody have a favorite character? Now, that's an easy jump off part. Anyone have a favorite character? Because the sisters are very different. And then we have Wayno. He's just comfortable. Who's ever dated a guy that there's no passion there? He's just comfortable. He's safe. He's a safe boyfriend. And then we had the beautiful Lionel, who is the artist and the manager at the pizza place where Kim gets her first job, and really the first time that Kim begins to trust another man. It's a relationship with a man that's void of any sexual undertows. And of course, we got to use that word.
I love the grandma.
Oh my gosh. I love you.
You love the what?
The grandma.
The grandma.
The chain smoking. With the nails. I just loved her.
She was
And how
good.
she appeared, yeah.
I really liked the manager of the pizza place, because I was waiting to see where you were going to go with him. I was like, is she going to just tie this up where she ends up, like, it all works out and she ends up running off with him? And I was like, I hope she doesn't. I mean, it's your book, do as you will, but I was kind of hoping you didn't. And you didn't. And so I really liked him, but the father struck me. The dad. I think that the mom got so focused on the other daughter. And like when the dad took her to school, to college, you know, when he drove her to college and mom didn't go. And I think the dad was trying to have, but I think mom lost of that marriage. But I think, I thought it was, I love that he tried as best he could to, I don't know, there was something about the dad that just kind of struck my heart a little bit. I just kind of, I felt for the dad.
I think he's an endearing figure in that he's long suffering, doesn't leave his wife, though her passion is somewhere else and not in the marriage. So he's very dedicated to his family. And I love writing that scene where Kim and her father go off to Texas Tech, that long car drive, because isn't it very true in our own lives? Sometimes we're so busy, you know, in our careers, all the directions we're pulled in, that if we ever get the chance, if you have a child, to be alone with just that one child, or if you're the child and that parent or that grandmother or that grandfather takes you only to build that relationship. And I love when the father says, let's have a beer, it's hot, and don't tell your mom. You know, that's another way of bonding and securing that relationship between father and daughter without him saying, hey, I know your mom's a mess and you might shortchange. He doesn't have to go there with her. Those words do not need to be spoken between the father and Kim.
I just thought that you did exactly, he was the kind of dad that I wanted him to be. He reminded me a little of my dad in a way, because my parents back in 1967, I have a sister, the one right above me has Down syndrome. And they were told at the hospital, the doctor sat my parents down and they said, I really think you shouldn't bring her home. You're getting discharged like in 2 days. I think you should just bring her to a home, and you already have 2 kids. I wasn't around yet. And I just think it's going to break your heart. It's going to be too difficult, you know, all these things. And I think you should just probably spare yourself and your family all that. And he wasn't being insensitive. It sounds insensitive, but that was just where they were in 1967. And my dad was in there and he looked at my mom and he goes, well, what are we going to do? And she goes, well, we're going to take our daughter home. And my dad said, all right, we're going to take her home. And they did. And then 7 years later, they had me. And my mom was great. She did manage to, I don't know how she did it. She managed to maneuver my 2 older siblings, Megan and me. And she was never like focused or obsessed on any one of us. She managed to, but she had her hands full. And sometimes she was like, because she had her hands full, Daddy was always just very like constant, steady, like, and he didn't have to say things like, your mom's a little off the rails because it's about to be Christmas and she's making sure every one of you has the right outfit. And you know, she wanted Megan to be as normal. And because Megan came everywhere with us. Like we never like left her home because we were embarrassed or whatever. It was like, we just took her anywhere, the ballpark, everywhere. And so, you know, but mom didn't want anybody to make fun of her or hurt her or anything. So she tried to, you know, make sure that it was everything was right. So my dad had that way about him sometimes without saying, give your mom a break. You know, she's doing the best she can. Good. me to a Tulane basketball game, just me. And I knew what that was. He was giving my mom a minute, but I got a minute with my dad. And so it was not the same exact dynamic between her parents, the parents in the novel, but it was a little touch of how my parents were. And my daddy didn't ever say the words like, "Mom's having a rough week" or whatever, but he would do things to where we knew he was giving us that little moment. And so that's why I think I really liked the dad.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. Yes, the father's very endearing and loves Kim very much, as the mother does. It's relationships are complicated, and especially lifelong relationships. There's a lot of hate and angst and forgiveness and all of that. So you are the second reader I've spoken to with a Down syndrome sister. And I always hope that I showed in writing those that they all loved each other.
There were moments when I was really younger and I didn't always understand, because sometimes mom and dad had to take a little more time with Megan because it is what it is. And I would be like, and I didn't always understand. And then but my parents really did a good job of just integrating it all to where as I grew up, I would just grab her and like, she became like, I just take her with me. Like we began to be close as opposed to not, but it could go either way when you have a sibling, and it depends on how much of your parents' time. Because I mean, honestly, as a young child, you don't understand. It just depends as you grow older what the dynamic is and what you understand. So there's like the relationship kind of evolves as you evolve, and it was clear that they all loved each other. If she didn't love her sister, she wouldn't have made a point to see her, even though she would complain the whole time on the way. But I thought you gave them a little bit of normal sibling rivalry, even though when you have a special sister, you feel sometimes like, I can't be mean to her. She's got Down syndrome. And so I'd almost like not, but sometimes you just want to poke at your sister, and it doesn't really matter if she's got Down syndrome or not. She's your sister, and so you managed to bring that, which that was like a little humanity to the situation. And I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
May I jump in?
Please.
Okay. I just wanted, a number of things came up there, but I loved the character of the father as well. And one of the things I loved about him was, yes, the trip to college. But another thing I loved was when the girls were young and he started to really have problems. The fact that then when Kim comes home from college, he is very protective of his wife. He is very protective of her feelings. And I'm going to get choked up here, but one thing, I was daddy's girl. I was the middle child, but all three of us were daddy's kids. I mean, my older brother, my younger sister, and I adored him, and he adored all of us. But I think maybe we all feel this way. I think I was the closest. But only one time in my life did my father ever have a real problem with something I said. And I was probably in my 30s. My mother had died when I was 22. And I lived in New York. I came home often. And I don't know, we were having a cocktail or something and talking. And I was the smart sister. I was the National Merit Scholar, the one who went away to college, who studied in England, the whole thing. But Daddy and I were chatting, and we got on a subject about love and finding love and success in life. And I said to him something that it just freaked him out. It totally freaked him out. And I can see this father doing this. I said to my father, you know, Daddy, I've had a great life, but I sometimes wish I'd been born not quite so smart. And it appalled him. And I tried to explain it was only that all my life, as Kim has done in the book, I questioned everything. And I questioned it so that many times I ruined it for myself.
I understand that, Mary Ellen, and it's very brave of you to share that with us. And you touch my heart, because the greatest hope for an author, and also the earlier discussion of the father and mother and Down syndrome sister, your greatest hope as an author is that when people read these characters, they begin to think about their own lives and their own relationship. That means I was fortunate enough to touch a heartstring within the reader. That's why we do
Absolutely.
it. That's why we do it. And I was in a book club chat right when the book came out, and everybody's gonna, because we're coming from different places in life and we read things differently. That group did not like Kim, and of course I'm a guest in someone's house in a book club, and I thought, well, I'm going to try to explain a few things, but it wasn't going to go there, and I didn't want to be defensive or to force them to have a change of thought, to have a different opinion. They saw her as hateful to the younger sister and mean to her mom, and they never saw her vulnerability, the twofold life that Kim had to live in a home with a sister not as intelligent and a mother that was just so bent on giving this daughter every opportunity, a somewhat quiet, subdued father. And there Kim is with the Bluebirds, who she secretly hates, but that's her group. And there was a reason why I wrote the Bluebirds and the Cardinals, the Redbirds, and the group that the younger sister was in. I was trying to show that we're so divided in our society about where we live, what we value, that sometimes people like Kim, who is very driven to think and analyze, that's nothing to be ashamed of. That is just her personality, that she's living this crossroads life between the Bluebirds and the reality of her home, and Kim's own vulnerability. She hates the Bluebird, but it's her one, it's her card that she holds up to the world to give her a little bit of confidence, because Kim doesn't have any. I mean, after the boyfriends, Kim is afraid of men and afraid of love. Kim is just like the homeless man, the immigrant, the rescue dog. They're all looking for acceptance and a place to belong. And I absolutely adore Kathy Renee. Kathy Renee is like a wee saint, as they'd say in Ireland. She just loves people. She loves life. And she's accepted the cards that life has given her, and she's learned how to play them well. That takes tremendous courage in oneself to do that. And that's why I gave the reader a little sneak peek of the courage that Kathy Renee had when the girls were in junior high, that bathroom scene.
Yeah.
I love that scene. I mean, I just absolutely love how it's Kathy Renee and her Coke can that clears the room. She is the rescuer. She's rescuing her older sister because she doesn't care what people think. She doesn't care if she belongs. She knows her place in the world. Uh, and it's a ethereal, heavenly, if you want to follow that path, just this tremendous courage about who she is and where she belongs. So it's interesting. It's
And
interesting.
sometimes it's hard to to have someone who is a wee saint. There's a moment sometimes that you're like, oh damn, no matter what I do, like and so there's that, and then there's also the flip side where it's like I mean, I had a gifted IQ, I was smart, it came easy to me. And I'm like, well, why did I get all that? Why did, so there's Kim had a lot to process and a lot to deal with. And I think it was better it worked to me as a reader in the book, just reading the book, it all came together better where you kind of clearly defined her. Because at first I was like, she's kind of mean. Like, I wasn't that mean, But then I'm like, you know what? I lived it. So that's a whole different story. If you haven't lived it, like, it's almost like you had to almost make her that way so that you could see the
Well,
dynamics.
yeah, exactly. A yin and yang had to be created of the two sisters. And when we see all those diagrams of the yin and yang, there's the shared middle. And I have to bring you through the novel to discover that shared middle. And that's love. And unfortunately, it takes Kim a hurricane, and I'm very symbolic with water in the book. It could be a baptism. It could be if you've ever been through a hurricane. Sometimes it takes losing everything to realize what you have. As simplistic as that is, I don't think we ever outgrow hearing that message. She is brought to her knees and very humbled when she's in the shelter that she has to ask for clothes, and she owns nothing. She lost her house, she lost her job, she lost her car. She is borrowing clothes. Bye Bluebird. She lost her identity. I want to get back to Lionel for just a little bit. Lionel, for me as an author, served as almost a conscience for Kim. He was, through the power of books, they talked about books a lot, through the power of books and a friendship based on books and working together, he served as her conscience. You put your stuff on other people, Kim.
He held her accountable, and I liked that.
Absolutely. Where the grandma, as a grandma is a little bit more gentle in that. Grandma and the cigarella smoking Paco are great characters. They're a lot of fun. I love writing magical realism. In the first novel, I have a ghost of a deceased mother that talks to her middle-aged daughter going through a difficult time. The mother appears in dreams and then later is a ghost as this woman in the novel processes some things. So I love that thing. And of course, Granny's a great reader. She loves her romance novels. She loves cocktails by the pool. Life is good for Granny. She's enjoyed the things that life has given her and finds joy in them, all the way from her duster.
A place to be safe and a place to not worry about mom, dad, anybody. That was her place to just go and just be. And I felt like I was happy she had that place. But like you said, my grandmother, the one that I was close to, she was kind and wonderful and the best, because that's what grandmothers are. That's what, she was my gran and she was perfect, and then, but I love Lionel was like my really good friends are the ones that are like, you're doing XYZ, and they don't hesitate to tell you, and you need that.
Yes, you do. Does anyone want to talk about the football players?
Oh.
No, because we've all known them.
Amen. It's a multi-generational thing for women, isn't it? I certainly wasn't trying to tag on to the hashtag Me Too. I was just trying to make a point that particular time, that generation, it happened, and girls just didn't talk about it. You pretty much assumed that you put yourself in a place you shouldn't have been, that you were somehow responsible for the things that happened. But Kim gets her dog back, Raul, and they make it. I love my character from Ocean Springs. I live in Ocean Springs, not far from Front Beach, and I walk it quite a bit, and I see a lot of people swimming from, especially back in the day, but for what we're going through now and hurricanes. But I had an elderly neighbor that lived across the street from me, and she's a native Ocean Springs lady. She passed away a few years ago, but she said when she was young, she and her father used to swim from Front Beach to Deer Island. And I just thought that was always such a beautiful image, to be that strong and to be that young and to swim in the Mississippi Sound. It's not that far, and it's very shallow where we are. Y'all have more of the Gulf. I'm in a bay where I am. So, interesting character. Any more thoughts?
I have another question, Johnny. It's Mary Ellen. I don't know if this is something that I brought to the book from my own life, or if it's something that was at play when you wrote Kim's character. But I just wondering, I know, and I don't want to talk about what family member or relative this was, but my mother, when I was a teenager, pulled me aside and said, I need you to look out for or take care of this person, because they're not smart like these two people, and they're not beautiful like this person, so they're always going to need extra help. And when I read about Kim's feelings and her conflicted feelings about her sister, that struck me very deeply, because I'll never forget that happening, because my internal reaction was, oh my God, what is she talking about? Because this was a person I adored.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I read about the problems, Kim, as a young child growing up and thinking, Melissa, don't get weepy. That's why I'm not on camera. But there was something, it's almost like I felt like her resentment of her sister.
I
out
think
of a deep love for her sister.
Yes, yes.
knowledge that her sister was being attacked.
Well,
And as a child, it might have been the only way she knew how to react.
correct, correct. Um, and I think that that happens quite often in families, that perhaps an older sister, still a child, but a sister that is, or a brother, a sibling that is quite good at multitasking and is responsible. You may be given the task as a child to keep an eye out for mom or dad when they can't be there, for the sibling that doesn't quite either physically or mentally have their act together. And when you hear it as a child, you don't understand, because you're looking at that sibling as a child. You don't have the adult reasoning to say, hey, you know, my brother's a wingnut. He's always going to do something stupid. And he's going to hang around with the wrong people. You don't have that yet. You don't have those reasoning abilities and how to navigate something like that. You're just told as a child you have a responsibility. And it's later on, you know, by the time I would say sophomore in high school, from all the peer interaction, that you began to see how your sibling is fitting in to the peer pressure and the peer system in a public school. It can be absolutely heartbreaking for the sibling that's told, hey, you're on watch. This is yours when I can't be there. So
And
yeah,
and I think too, with cousins or any family member, I think that's important.
absolutely, an uncle, an aunt.
Right. But that, as I said, it struck me because that resonated with me from that memory. But I had to wonder, you know, the depths of that, and I really did feel, you know, no one feels anger or resentment in a vacuum. It comes from somewhere.
Yes, yes, that seed is planted somewhere. Any thoughts on the immigrant story within the novel, and when Kim goes to Copenhagen and sees Little Mermaid?
Everybody's so shy.
Oh, well, they're thinking. There's a lot going on in that book, isn't there? A lot going on in that book. I'm hoping as the reader that you begin to see the catalyst within Kim's life, you know, and it really begins when she gets the job as the librarian in Houston and meets all those characters. Of course, the vet, the homeless vet, and the little girls, and the teen from Central America.
Well,
I
thank
think
you
she found
for
her place.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Wendy. I think she found her place. And part of me is like, I don't think you might have meant this, but like the boyfriend, he was very comfortable. They just had their, like, she could call him up and say, hey, I'm coming over. He had her wine. It was fine. And part of me kind of was like, go girl, like have your own house, have your own job. She was happy. Like she didn't need him. It was like she enjoyed him, but she wasn't like, gotta have, I need him for something. Like he has to fill some piece of me. She was like, you know, so it almost made me feel like, go girl. Like she was like she got her confidence because she wasn't confident when she was with the Bluebirds. It was like, that wasn't her spot. And so she kind of found her job. She enjoyed herself. She had her house. And I was kind of glad that you didn't like marry her off to him and have her be, you know, the veterinarian's wife going to the library.
Yeah, yeah, that's too easy. Kim was far more complicated than that as a human being. Not that that's a bad life, but that wasn't the life for Kim. I want to ask the readers tonight, when you were in elementary or junior high, was there ever these groups based on ability?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
Went to an all-girls.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't have it in high school, but I did have it in grammar school.
I think in
Yeah.
high school, it was more by what classes you were taking. Like if you were college bound, you would be taking the advanced math classes and all that. And so you tended to be with the same kids in these classes because you were taking the advanced biology, the advanced calculus, you were taking English. When you were younger, yeah, because you were in those, they would divide you up as who needed more help than the other ones. But, you know, what about anybody else? What do you guys think?
Same here. It was,
High school was the same. Elementary school was very much ranked by classroom. Some classrooms would be lower functioning. Some classes would be higher functioning. And then there were the gifted classes and that sort of thing. So
We
you
had
weren't,
reading groups. If you were in a certain reading group, and it didn't take you long when you looked up and like, you were like, you knew, and they gave it like, I don't know whether they gave it a color or they never gave it a 1, 2, 3 or an ABC, but they did something, but it doesn't matter what they did. You're not, I mean, no matter how not supposedly intelligent you are, all of us are that intelligent to where we could figure out like, Meg's the smartest girl in my class and I'm in her reading group. I must be in the really smart reading group, you know?
So you see how natural this can occur. When I was in elementary school, I went to public school in Texas. We were grouped, and it was in one huge room with two reading teachers. Can you imagine? It was so great with remembering the size of the room, but it was probably 3 times the size of an average classroom, and all of us in that grade, that particular grade, were in one large reading class, and we were grouped. And I always thought how odd that was, and how would it make you feel if you were the person in the low achieving group or at the Bluebirds? It was just very, very odd. But you know, public education is that. As a former teacher, we're always experimenting with the best way to teach. These fads come along, everyone gets excited, we do it 3 or 4 years, then we abandon it and start something else. But that's definitely, that part in the novel is true to life for me as the writer, the ability grouping. I'm very happy to tell all of you that I've been working with my publisher, that they contacted me about a month ago. They're going to make this into an audiobook.
Oh,
And
great.
I am absolutely thrilled. And this past July, I have been listening to audition tapes because, you know, that's one person. Imagine how difficult doing the voice of Kim, of Kathy, Lionel, those horrible football players, Granny, one voice. And I'm very proud to say we found a woman who used to do some work for Disney, Nickelodeon, all kinds of things, incredibly talented. The first time I heard her read, she read the first chapter where, you know, there's the very poignant sentence that Kim says about her sister, "I loved and hated her." And her range of emotion is just exquisite. So I'm very excited about that. I don't have a date when that'll come out. Beginning in August through for a couple of weeks, the Kindle edition of Sisters of the Undertow will be $1.99. So help give this book a little flotation during COVID, and buy the Kindle for your sister or your aunt, your granny. So I would appreciate some of that support. It's very important.
Are all your books on Kindle?
Yeah.
Other?
Yes, the other two are. I don't think they're that cheap. That's something the publisher wanted to do. Said, let's forget about profits. Let's just get the book out there. So lower the price for $1.99. Amazon will make their money. We just want to get the book out there to readers. So I'd appreciate your support in that. The other thing, while we're talking about Amazon, you know, it's a very odd model for the author and the publisher. The book is discounted so much for Amazon to take it that the profit is just teeny tiny. But you're forced to do business with Amazon as they're giant. They just make it easy. It's like if you are selling peanut butter and you're trying to break into the Walmart market, they are going to just bring you down so low on that price just so you could have that shelf space. Now, when it works out for us on Amazon, if we get so many reviews, and I would never tell a reader what to write, and it doesn't mean you have to buy the book on Amazon. Their new model is if you spend $50 or more a year on Amazon, you can write a book review. And if I get so many reviews, Amazon begins advertising the book. It's very important now because of COVID. It's not about the money. It's about the book getting to readers. So I appreciate if you had the time to write an Amazon review. There's a book trailer on there. You just go to the search engine and type in Johnnie Bernhard and it'll bring the book up. And it would mean quite a bit. Wendy's been very kind in writing book reviews, or else I'm lost as an author with all the books. I'm very proud to say that a few weeks ago, I was invited by the Humanities of Tennessee. They read the book to be in their virtual Southern Book Festival, and that will be in October.
Wonderful.
They only opened up to 50 authors across the country. It's mind-blowing to me because I'm not in New York City, which is where everything's happening in publishing. I'm only existing as an author because of the librarians, because of the people that write book reviews. That's how I've made it, trying to connect to the reader. So I thank you very much for your time and your effort in helping get the word out. I'm teaching something. If there are any writers in there, I'm teaching something August 4th with the Pat Conroy Literary Center. You could find about that on Eventbrite. I am happy to Zoom or meet outdoors at Past Books for a coffee or a glass of wine using some social distancing. And I can't say enough about Scott at Past Books. He has championed every book, and that just doesn't always happen. You know, you have to think about the thousands of books that are out there. And I'm in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. So it's people like Scott and Wendy that help get the word out.
I'm glad you're in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, because when we went there, you gave us the best suggestions on where to eat and what to do. I was like, thank you. It was great. I loved your town. I'd never been.
Oh, come to Ocean Springs, you know, there's some great shops. There's a lot of great restaurants that are not chains, and enjoy yourself. Let's cross our fingers that the world will be safe by November. I'm hopeful for the Peter Anderson Festival. That is a great event for artists. We closed down Washington Avenue and Government to vehicles. It's foot traffic only. Great pottery, painting, authors, Mississippi authors. It's just a fun time for a solid weekend. Good
Ooh.
time to do your Christmas shopping.
Yeah.
I have a question. I have a
Sure.
question. Are you working on anything new currently?
I am. My protagonist, I write about women. Hey, I'm trying to write what I know, and I want to celebrate the different ages in a woman's life, and that every age is special in what we learn, the people we come in contact, how we grow, how we give to others. So this protagonist, Hannah, is 72 years old. And she is going to be a woman that absolutely kicks butt because society is telling her you're over 50, it's over.
You can't see me, but I am several years over 70, so I'm gonna love
You
it.
know what? I've decided, and for our younger readers, you know what? You are going to keep getting sexier, more confident, smarter. You are going to become so comfortable in your skin as you age that you are going to be a force in this world that nothing can stop. That is the future you should look to. And so this is Hannah, and I'm going to have Hannah living near the border on a ranch in West Texas. And he has to make a very important decision one night to either follow the law or to save a life. And that's all I'm going to tell you. And when she makes that decision, some terrible men that make the football players look like chump change come after this 72-year-old woman. So it's going to be it's different from my other novels in that it's going to be a bit more plot driven, but definitely centered around two female characters, 72-year-old Hannah and a 14-year-old girl who was kidnapped from her home. So I've been doing a lot of research on human trafficking and the corridor of I-10, and all the way from El Paso to Florida. It's nothing but human trafficking. And I watched a documentary on young girls that could be coming out of a movie theater and they're picked up and their families never see them again. Traffic. Sometimes Houston is a huge point where these girls are shipped to Europe. Okay. So when you think about all the news about Epstein, that world is very big. It's very big and it's very scary. So
It's so secretive, it's hard to know it's there, so people don't pay attention because you don't ever see it, because clearly they're being kidnapped and they don't want you to see it. But I talked to a friend of mine's brother who that's what he does in Baltimore, and he's like, he goes, you don't even begin to know how many young girls and he just said the word, he goes, they evaporate from the mall, from the movies, from school, they evaporate. And he goes, you can't find them. I was like, it's shocking.
it is shocking, and it's like a underbelly living beneath us. We're all going to work. We're all taking care of our families. We're living our lives, but there is this huge underground network that is changing the lives of young girls forever. I'm also working with a woman from Houston, Pamela Plata. We've exchanged some emails. She runs a clinic in Houston where a lot of girls that have been trafficked and are trying to get their way home, they could go there for health care. And I hope when it is safe that I could interview some of those girls without using their name. Just as an author, I want there to be authenticity to what I'm writing, that it's not just sensational or over dramatic, but I want to hear the stories. But I'm really excited about Hannah at 72. And you know what, y'all? I was working on Hannah this past weekend. There's a guy in his mid-50s that has been crazy about her his entire life. Still crazy about her at 72. So it isn't over. It just gets better and better.
You always do a great job, though, with the older women characters, like in How We Came to Be, her neighbor, and I'm old, so I can't remember her name. She was a great
Yeah.
character.
love
Strong
her.
woman. You do
I
so
love
well with that. I love it.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for remembering the older
Oh.
one.
Follow me on social media, guys. That helps. I do a lot with other authors because there were a lot of authors that helped me when I was starting out. And let's get in touch soon. Stay safe. Wish you well. God bless. And thank you for supporting me. I couldn't do what I absolutely love to do if it wouldn't be for you. So thank you. Good night, everyone. Stay safe.
Thanks,
night.
guys. It was so
Thank
great
you,
to see
Wendy.
you. And if y'all have any ideas for other authors, or if y'all are interested in doing some more Zoom things like this, let me know. Since we kind of figured it out a little bit, I'm less nervous about it. So we could maybe try something like this again if everybody's interested. So
It was great, Wendy. Thank you.
any other questions or anything like that? Or otherwise, I'm going to turn it off the recorder and let y'all go home and drink more wine. So
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for the
you.
reviews.
Hi, everybody.
Good night, y'all.
good night.
Night.
Night. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay, I turned off the recording, so if anybody wants to talk, we can. I think I did. Stop recording.